simpler because you don't have to, double write or double journey. Yes, it is on Audible. It absolutely is on Audible. Very good. First time watching, I found you on YouTube. Well, welcome, Chris Davis. It's called Self Matters. I'll put it out. It's not my book yet, but I promised before So Detox Online for 2019, for 2020, I will have my own book and we will be going by our own material. Come on. And I'm going to have to put all y'all name in the forward. So the forward's going to have to be about 5 pages. Hello, State Mother. Welcome back. Y'all are some faithful, loyal people. But the book is Self Matters. You might recognize this gentleman right here. But the book is Self Matters. If you can just get him out of the equation, TV fame or publicity or anything like that, the teaching is incredible. And it's what we need. And you can also purchase the companion book that comes along with it, which I totally recommend. Y'all know how I am. Application, application, application. It's very good. We're going to do some of these applications. Y'all going to have one night to get them done and get back on. Email me, share them. Hello, Diane Collins. But self matters. Self matters. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to pull it up on my screen. And we're going to start out with that. I've made some very good notes. We will go off the notes, but it will really, really help if you have at least a book to start. But if you don't, we're going to roll with it. I'm going to leave the page. We will be on chapter 1, and you may look at a couple of lines that may be familiar to you. And then you may say, the rest of this material isn't even familiar to me. And that's because we have lifted off. We have taken off in some enlightenment and revelation where we did not need to stick with the material. But it is a good starting point. It's a good foundation to have and to reflect back to which this teaching is coming from. I like this first line that opens up in chapter 1. And the line is written by Eleanor Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt. And the teaching says, somehow we learn who we really are and then live with that decision. Do you get it? What does that mean to you? Somehow we learn. So we don't really know who we are, but we learn who we are. Somehow we learn who we really are and then live with that decision. So we learn who we are versus knowing who we are. And then we live with the decision that we've made. When we talked about in So Detox 2017 that you have to know the destination of your mind. So what decision have you made about yourself if you don't even know yourself, that you're still learning, you're still evolving? How honest can you be to admit that you're still learning, still evolving? I get a lot of people write into me, or some of my clients will say, if I find purpose, if I had purpose, my life would be better. I'd be more excited. I'd feel more passion, but I just can't, take this mundane. If this is all that life has to offer me, the blah, 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 blah that we probably all feel, but never have stated. And I want you to know that purpose does line up with timing. And you have to get your life ready. You have to get your mind ready. You have to be ready for purpose, because purpose is it's not just going to require everything that you have, but you are going to want to give everything you have when you find purpose. You will not cheat purpose. You will not shorthand purpose. Purpose may not even have a 6-figure salary attached to it, but you're going to work as if you're receiving a couple billion a year, because once you find purpose, you breathe it, you eat it, you sleep it, you dream it, you date it. You just enjoy purpose. You can tell that there's been a divine alignment with you and your purpose, that everything in your life changes. So purpose does have timing with it. You definitely want purpose to show up when you're mature. You want purpose to show up when some of the mistakes you would have made before, you're not making anymore. So, asking for purpose and being purpose-driven is excellent. I'm with you all the way. But remember, there are some lessons that you may want to learn before purpose shows up at your door. Because if you get something fantastic, whether it be fame or fortune, and you get it before you're ready for it, before you're mature in it, more than likely you are not going to be able to endure to the end with it, because you're not purposed for purpose. That's a good statement we can go ahead and write already. Integrity Force is with us on a different time zone, but connected in. You have to be ready for purpose. Beautiful. Hi, I see some of your names coming up. You'll be back on the replay. Very good. All right, so I'm going to read the caption again, and then we're going to move on a little bit. Somehow we learn who we really are and then live with that decision. We're going to be going over this book for the 30 days, Self Matters, by Dr. Phil McGraw. If you can, get the companion book. I ordered so many. I blessed some of my leaders for Christmas with them. There's a hard copy too for those of y'all who like hard copy. And, you know, sticking with the times, there's ebooks. Audible.com has the Audible version. You can take notes in your journal. And Amazon, Kindle, all of those will have also the book available on ebook. So we're going to be talking about Self Matters. These are some of the topics that we are definitely going to spend the next 30 days together on. The first one is defining your authentic self. Defining your authentic self. Way harder than the sentence is. Defining your authentic self. 4 words, but it could probably take you 4 years to get into something like that. 4 months, the least, to get into something like that. For 4 powerful little words. The next part we're going to make sure we cover is your self-concept. What is your self-concept? What is the idea that you have of you externally? Who is it that we meet externally? Who you are on the outside, but not necessarily on the inside. Number 3, we're going to go over your most 10 defining moments. I promise you that the discussion and the application of each of these titles that I'm giving you tonight are way more interesting than they're named. Your 10 most defining moments. Thank you, Hope Lumpkin. The 7 critical choices. 5 pivotal people who affect you internally. 5 pivotal people. Do you know that we're actually going to start with 50 important people in your life? And we're going to talk about whether they've impacted your life, good, bad, or indifferent. 50 important people, whether they're on TV, fantasy, television, school teachers, grocery store clerk, no matter how little the impact has been in your life or how major, you will find out how each part of these people, you have grabbed something from them and are actually utilizing it in your life. And then we're going to break it down from 50, I believe, to 20 to like maybe the top 5. And we're going to begin to discover exactly who you are. But understand that while we are taking this journey together of 30 days and definitely throughout the remainder of 2019, as we discover our authentic self, in order to do that, the hardest part of this work is discovering who you are not. You might want to write that one down in your journal. Y'all better have journals. Y'all know I'm serious about journals. Come on. You know I'm serious about journals. We're getting our journals for Soul Detox in as well. Latanya's handling them for me. It's very, very important. That's a good topic right there. We're also going to talk about the locus of control. The control. We're going to talk about the internal dialogue. I call it self-talk. I found out from my psychology classes that is actually a real definition. It's a psychological term, self-talk. And it's the voices that goes on in your head that you externally pay the least amount of attention to. But internally, that voice is rattling off all day long. Very important. We're also going to talk about that internal dialogue, that self-talk. Labels. What kind of labels have been put on you from your parents because of who your parents were, because of your last name, because of your gender in the family, because of the number child that you were born into in the family, because of your sexual orientation, because of your faith. There's labels on all of us, and we are going to get to the point where we really dig in the dirt to find out, are these labels embraced by self, or were these labels given to me and I have had to learn how to walk in them, but I am miserable with the label? Come on, somebody talk to me. What's the labels? What's the labels that's on your life? Who are you labeled as? The Johnson's kid, the middle child, the baby, the oldest one, the best child, the problem child. Who are you labeled as? The one in the family, I was growing up in a multiracial family. My dad was German and my mom was Native Indian and black. And they used to call me the blue-eyed devil. And I was the devil because there was so much racial violence going on in the era when my parents met and where I was born, that there was a lot of aggression and hatred towards two races, black and white. So my culturally black side of the family would laugh and make joke of me and call me the blue-eyed devil because I had blue eyes, and blue eyes reflected the white man, and the white man was the devil in those times where they were being raised up at, because there was so much racial violence and just crazy stuff. And when I hear people talk about racism, I'm not going to be able to cover in this time who actually where did racial mess start from. But I will tell you this: almost every race that I have met, and I don't even like using it as race, because to me the human race is the race. But culturally, as a race, I have been around Spanish people, particularly Puerto Ricans who can't stand Mexicans. I've been around one Caribbean island of people who is racially puts down another island of people. Here in the U.S., it is unbelievable with the racial tension between being black and white. And I was raised up in that during a time, as I was a baby, during the time when racial violence was, it was norm. It was kind of the norm. People expected it. Of course, it was awful. But being raised in that, I was labeled so many things. I would go to school and they would say to me, "Are you black or white?" And believe it or not, children are really innocent. We're not really taught color, even though my mother was darker than my father. She wasn't dark skinned, but she was darker than my Caucasian father. I didn't realize that we were different. And I had older siblings that were darker, and I never paid attention to their color. It just, this was this sister, this was this sister, this was that brother. I didn't know any of this until I got to school. And when they were asking me what color was I, then they assumed that I was Latina. Because of the mixture of features, and some assumed I was Italian, and I'm trying to figure out, well, where are these labels coming from and who am I? And then when I got to like the middle grade, I think it was maybe 6th or 7th grade, people were telling me, well, if you're black, you have a little nose. And it was like, what is going on? I remember in the workplace, I was about 24 years old, and I worked with a multicultural of women in there, Irish, Jewish, I think that was an Italian, Irish Jewish, an Italian was in the office. Then they hired me, and they had a discussion for months that I was not aware of. And they told me later on that they were trying to figure out what culture was I, what race was I. And I explained to them the race. They was like, "Oh, well, you don't have large features, or you don't have this kind of hair." And I'm looking at them like, y'all really talk this stuff? I mean, I was oblivious. And I thank God that my parents raised me that way innocently, but they did not prepare me for the labels that would be put on my life that I had to learn to live up to. Literally, I tell the story often when I give testimony. I had to learn how to be white around my father's white family. And when you say be white, it was some of the, the behaviors, the food types, some of the slogans and the slurs and some of the jokes. And then when my mom's family come around, that was more of the African American side of the family. I had to learn to be like them or be accepted by them. Otherwise, I'd be called names. And, the racism was on both sides. I don't know, like I said, where it started, but I know racism exists in all races at this point in some form or fashion. So there were labels put on me where it took me years to really get back to the authentic self. And what was the authentic self? It was the part of me that didn't care what race I was. It was the part of me that did not care what color I was. It was the part of me that did not care what gender I was. It was the authentic me where I was free to love. I was free to be loved. I didn't have trust issues. I wasn't called names. I wasn't expected to live up to daddy's families. I wasn't expected to live up to mommy's family. You know, I prayed so many prayers, and I didn't believe in God, which is amazing that I would say that. But I prayed so many prayers when I was a little girl to make me look like a Caucasian person and make me look like an African American person just so I could be accepted. Labels, labels, labels. That's my story. What is yours? Were you the child of a parent who maybe was the black sheep of the family and they carried that off on you? Were you the child of maybe a very educated, intellectual, or very well adored sister or auntie in the family and they had those same expectations of you? Or were you raised, or were you Pookie's kid and you were constantly told that you're going to be no good because Pookie was no good? Oh, come on, Renee, just like your father. You know, these are labels that we think we grow out of. But if you look at the Soul Detox from 2018, time does not heal a thing. Time just helps you to forget. Time does not heal a thing. Thank y'all so much for the super hearts. I felt like that because of my complexion also. Absolutely. I'm a Rose and I'm a Michael Rose son, a.k.a. the black sheep. See the labels? Come on, y'all. Keep it coming. Someone else says you're just like your mother. Someone else says the unwanted child. Y'all going to bring me in tears tonight. But this will be the only night we will have tears over this because we're coming out of this thing. All of the labels that were put on us, that we've had to learn to wear armor that wasn't ours, armors that didn't fit because I was the middle child. That's right. Time does not heal a thing. Time only helps you to forget. Sometimes it doesn't help you to forgive. It helps you to forget. So we're going to talk about the internal dialogue that goes on the inside of us. I'm a product of the black sheep, and God chose me out of everyone. I know that's right. Good for you. Going to be nothing like my mother. Wow. Real stuff. Come on. Keep talking. Let's get it out. This is healthy for us. This is a great atmosphere to do this in. So we're going to talk about internal dialogue, that self-talk. We're going to talk about labels, the only fat kid. And we grow up in this. And think about this. We're children, and they're teaching us this stuff. We don't know how we're supposed to be this or not be this. What attribute labeled by your father's rebellion? Miss Piggy. Very good. Thank you, Minister Vanessa. The black sheep. Unbelievable. There was a girl when we had a session, a public session on Soul Detox. We do this every quarter in person, and we get together about a couple hundred of us. Milkman Baby. Wow. Milkman Baby. We do this in public. I remember one girl got up and began to name all the names that she was called. She was called all kinds of names. The conceited one, the adopted child. I had the adopted child too. My sisters used to tell me I was adopted all the time. And it's amazing. Whoever you are, Biggs 0728, I'm glad you posted that, because I was often told I was adopted. And not only was I told I was the black sheep in my family too. Not only was I told that I was adopted, I was also told that they found me in a garbage can. This was told to me by an older sibling who had a personal hatred for me as a child. And I think it's because she was the baby of a second marriage. And that when I came along, she thought I was going to steal her attention, which babies normally do. Was told I was adopted. Unbelievable. And was found in a garbage can. So for years I would cry. And when I would go to my parents and tell them this about my older sister, they would tell me, oh, you're so stupid. And they would laugh at it. That's the craziest thing ever. And they would laugh at it. But it wasn't an answer. So it never gave me an answer. And it's amazing that I believe it was more than a seed. Not only did it take root, it corrupted, or at least changed the psyche of my mind, because to this day, I'm the only one that's not close to the family. The only one that doesn't blend with them. You know, I don't really get invited to things, and I don't really invite them to things. And I don't believe there's any hatred, but there's some kind of deformity in our relationship. And I think it's because the psychology of telling me over and over and over again that I was adopted. I've always learned to make my own family. Your parents are your grandparents. So that's why I thank God for the church. I thank God for the church. And I don't like when people, tear down the church. Yes, it's not a perfect place. As my mentors told me, it's not heaven. Why would anybody expect the church to be a perfect place? The perfect place is heaven. You're in church and you're in a room with a bunch of people with a bunch of problems, with a lot of dysfunctions, that they don't know what they don't know about themselves. Why would you expect perfection? But I love the church because the church and the people of the church became my family. I mean, after all, I was adopted. So it's easy for me to adopt family than actually stick with the one that I supposedly grew up in because I was adopted. Do you see the psychology of these words and what they do to us? Always was told I'm hateful and will always be alone. And I bet you guys that when you look back and reflect over some of these labels that were put on your life, you think you're better than we are. When you look back and go over some of these labels that were put on your life, you're going to see where you are today. They may have been told to you when you were 2, 6, or 12 years of age. But now you're in your 20s, 30, 40s, 50s, 60, 80 years of age. And there is still a thread of those statements in your life today. The white girl. Yep, been there with you too. Absolutely. Big, big ones. And then we're going to talk about life scripts. We're going to work on a 5-step action plan. We got 30 days to get this done. And we're going to work a plan before we hang up. We're going to discuss any sabotage that you may do to your life because of these labels that was placed on your life. And then hopefully by that time we'll be wrapping up the 30 days. If not, you know I do a detox online every week anyway. Usually at this point it's been on Tuesdays. Who do you think you are? And other like comments. Yep. Does anyone else feel this in their heart as they type this on your screen tonight? The trouble child. I think everybody needs to exhale. Can you just take a moment to exhale? Just exhale where you are. Because believe it or not, that was junk. And you released the junk. And you did it in a safe place because you may be home alone, driving in your car. You're not, anyone's in your face. No one's feeling too personal. It's a very good place to get junk out because there's a freedom when you're talking to people who you really don't have an emotional attachment to. But you need an exhale there. And if you want to talk any more about it, you can inbox me, please. The email is info@SuzanneMHoward.com. info@SuzanneMHoward.com. And just tell me a little bit more about your labels and if you can see, because remember we talked about this for 2 years now. Let's just say this is you. You're a pattern. There's a pattern in all of our lives. All of us have a pattern. But somewhere in one of those patterns is a thread. And in that thread is something someone said to you a long time ago. And it's threaded all the way in the pattern of who you are. Thank you all so much for putting up the email address. The Bible says that I was wonderfully knitted in my mother's womb. There is a pattern to your DNA, your molecules, the biology of who you are. And when you were born, the words that were spoken to you were like threads. And they patterned and basically were sewn into your makeup of who you are. They're in you. And even now, just by talking to y'all, I got a connection on a couple of mine that I just shared. Absolutely, there's a thread. You bought into the lies that were labeled on you. You bought in to the bullying. You know, some of us, our siblings were bullying us, or our adult family members were bullying us. And we bought into the lies of the bullies. And to this day, it's patterned in our lives. So that's interesting. So what are we going to do about it? We're going to do what's called the fix. And that's coming right out of the book. We're going to do what's called the fix. And we're going to work on this fix for the 30 days that we are together. And what is this fix? We're going to work our way from the inside out. I just saw someone post that calling you a label is one thing, but actually treating you like you are the label that they've labeled you is a whole other thing. That's all right. Well, let me go ahead and give my my little side effects now. Someone just posted they're having cramps right now. I want to tell you something that's true. Many might not believe it, but in all of our teachings, every single year, we have gotten people who have inboxed us and said that they ended up vomiting. Some ended up excreting from other areas of their body. that they just, it's what we call in the church world deliverance. You're receiving healing and deliverance, an impartation, just by simply loosing this toxic mess up out of your soul, up out of your heart, has already released you, probably gained 5 years back on your life. We're going to talk about how toxic this stuff is and how it's shown medically that it affects our lives. Stomach aches, headaches, appetite problems, don't eat enough, eat too much, can't swallow. All of this stuff comes in from the psyche. Because remember, if you've been with me the last couple of years, what is the soul? The soul is the seat of who you are. The seat, S-E-A-T. Your soul is the seat of who you are. That means your appetite, your will, your mind, your emotions, your desires, all of those come from your soul. At one time, your soul was authentic. It was beautiful. And then words came, labels came, molestation came, physical abuse came, neglect came, misunderstanding came, rejection came, abandonment came. So before all those things, no one grows up codependent. No one grows up and just says, I'm going to be so dependent on this other person that when they're in a good mood, my day is good. When they're in a bad mood, my day is bad. What they want to eat, I want to eat. When they are not happy with me and they tell me bad things about myself, I immediately start shaming myself and trying to figure out how to make myself better for them. No one is born like that, and no one is born to be codependent on another person. Now, I'm not talking about the functioning codependency that is needed and necessary in a marriage relationship. I'm talking about the unhealthy kind where their affects affect you. That's not, no one grows into that. Do you know where that comes from? It comes from abandonment. It could be your parents have gone to jail. It could be someone has died. It could be someone was hospitalized. It could be a sibling passed away. A twin died on you. That's abandonment. And it will cause you to fall into codependency. You are not who you are by mistake. Come on, because you already said it once, Jameson. Drop the mic. You are not who you are by mistake. Someone put time into making you the way you are. Good evening, Will. And I'm not talking about God, Jehovah. I'm talking about those people who were responsible for raising you. However good or not so good of a job that they've done with you, you are not who you are by mistake. And that can be good or that can be sad. But some things were purposely done to you. Reflecting back to those that are following on here that are Christians, we always read about Joseph in the Bible. Those things were purposely done to Joseph out of jealousy. Purposely done. It was not by mistake. It was on purpose. So now we've got to undo the codependency. We've got to undo the rejected personality. We've got to undo the always thinking down or speaking down. We've got to undo the unhealthy self-esteem. We have to undo all these things that life and trauma and experiences has come in and altered the authentic you of who you were and who you are meant to be. And by the end of 2019, who you are going to continue being from that point moving forward. You are not who you are by accident. Someone dropped you or someone picked you up. Someone abandoned you or someone misled you. Someone loved you or someone didn't love you. Someone hurt you or someone didn't come around to heal you. It's not by accident. It was intentional and it was on purpose. And it may be out of what was done to them. And that was the best that they could give to you. But however, it wasn't by mistake because you weren't a mistake. But we're going to spend some time together rectifying what was done. I have this statement that I say to my clients online. And when they, start telling me some things about their current situation, I'll say to them, so when did the accident happen? Oh, I've never been in a car accident. I mean, I tripped one time at my job. I fell when I was little off of a sled or ice skating or whatever it is. But I've never had an accident. I said, oh, you've had an accident. It's just this one wasn't a motor vehicle accident. This one may not have required you to go to a hospital or emergency room, but there was definitely an accident. Something happened in your life where this person that you are now or this person that you are living through that is causing you to stay in abusive relationships, to stay with people who can't love themselves. So how could they possibly love you? You are attached to toxicity. because you've been in secondhand smoke of someone else's for so long that you don't even know what it's like to breathe regular air. Are y'all with me? Not accident, but intentionally. As bad as we have to admit it, as sad as it is to admit it, it's what it is. All right. So we're going to do the fix. And thank you, sir. Thank you, Biggs. So we're going to do the fix. And what is the fix? Coming from the inside out. And what is it? It's how you do what you do. It's how you do what you do. It's being true to yourself from the inside out. People can only give you what they have. If they didn't receive it, how can they give it? Absolutely. We duplicate after our own kind. But guess what? You are on here tonight because you knew that this was about you. It was time for you to change. You got sick and tired of the you that you know is blocking the you that is on the inside of you. So you carved out this time for you in these 30 days to make it about you. Unselfishly selfish to get back to the authentic you. You want to wake up in the morning excited. You want to go to bed at night excited. You want to wake up on purpose. You want to lie down on purpose. You want to have your day planned out. You want to turn things down because you have purpose. You want to set things up in order because you have purpose. It is time for you to be about the purpose in your life that you've been looking for your entire life. I want to get back to the authentic me. So what is the fix? The fix is getting you to come out from the inside out. It's how you do what you do. That's the fix. We've got to figure out, why do you think like this? Why do you make decisions like this? Why do you not make decisions? You know, I have 50% of my clients make no decisions in their life. They leave it to someone else. Isn't that amazing? So it's not so much the decisions that they've made, it's the decisions that they're not making. They're letting someone else be the captain of their ship. Now, baby, you can co-pilot, but you can't be the captain of my ship. There's only one captain. And anything with two heads is a monster. We can't do that. It's not going to work. So we're going to get you to the point where you're going to be true to yourself. We're going to start from the inside out. And then the last part of that is priorities. Why do I not make decisions? That's it. We're going to find out. We're going to get to that, Miss Lady on here. How do you do what you do? Being true to yourself from the inside out and your priorities. Yep. Somebody said, I'm going to get free. I know that's right. So a couple of words I want you to write down, because that's what we're going to be dealing with at least for the rest of this week. Because we're on every single night. Pretty much 9 o'clock. Some nights I may get on at 8. So make sure you subscribe so that you will get a notification when I'm on. Just to handle some of the formalities, the website is www.suzannemhoward.com. www.suzannemhoward.com. And you can also subscribe on YouTube. So whenever I'm on, you will get a link whenever videos are uploaded. Every single session from every single night will be uploaded the next day on YouTube for replay purposes. You want to send it to someone, maybe it really struck a chord. This is for my daughter, these are for my children. Oh my God, my friends got this is for my coworker. You get the point. You may want to tag them in it. So every single teaching will be on YouTube the following day. But if you subscribe to the website, you'll get a lot of insight information. You'll get a personal place to talk with me, ask questions, call in, ask a few questions, discuss a few things, and just see what we can get started. So a couple words that I want to have you write down that we're going to be talking about, and one of them is called self-concept. Self-concept. My tongue may be a little slippery, like the Reverend said the other night. He speaks 3 languages, and one of them is speaking in tongues. So I'm going to use that excuse tonight. Self-concept. SELF-concept. Thank you, State Mother. Self-concept. Another terminology I want you to learn is authentic self. Authentic self. AUTHENTIC. AUTH, there you go, ENTIC, authentic self. The most real you've ever been. Can you think of a time in your life where you've been the most real you that you've ever been? And if you can, just quickly, you're going to have time and homework to do this, what we call it soul work on Soul Detox. So you'll have soul work time to do all of this. But can you think of a time when you were genuinely the most real you've ever been? And if so, I want you to just tell me briefly on the screen, what age was that? What age was it when you were the most real you've ever been? Come on, because some of us, the collar changes us. And I'm not talking about for the good. For some of us, the labels changed us. For some of us, our status of our house changed us. I want to know, at what age were you at when you were your most authentic self? Very good. Good. All right. So some of y'all I'm assuming that you are your most authentic self now. Was that a gradual learning process, or all the other years you just kind of blew it and you got to this point where I saw a 27-year-old, but I think the rest were like 36 and 40 and 50. Is that the part where we get seeing 47, 23? Is that a place where we finally just don't care what people think about us, and we just get to our authentic self? Here goes somebody still waiting to be my most authentic self. Someone else says 23. Good. It was a gradual learning process. See, some of y'all been with me for a while. So we've been working on that and pushing it. 38 years old. So you're a little bit free than if I would have asked y'all this about 3 years ago. So for those few that have been with me for a while, I think that's Kareem there, Latanya, Nisi. Aside from the moment that you reflected on just now, tell me a time in your life when you were your most authentic self. Learning process. I see you on Facebook. Hey, Michelle, a work in progress. I believe it. Just starting. Somebody's honest on here. Just starting. 64. Well, welcome. What a good place to be. Couldn't run anymore. 19. I'm not sure. Absolutely. Very good. And I'm not talking about like one instance where you stood your ground and that was your most authentic self. I'm talking about when you started to live your most authentic life. That's the most real you've ever been. Here are some clues. Thank you, Renee. She says she's still learning. Here are some clues. You started to have great energy. There was a purposed excitement about yourself. There was a calmness yet within. You felt doing what you felt as though you were doing what you were supposed to do. You felt like you were where you were supposed to be. And you felt as though you were meant to do exactly what it is you were doing. Those are some of the clues that if you are living the most real you ever can, those are some of the clues that you would feel in your life. Had my heart in the wrong place for the wrong person. All right, I can get with that. Not there yet. Absolutely. Facebook page said it's still a work in progress. Lost myself at 20. Well, you did pretty good up until 20. I'm still learning. Yes, those are the clues so that you would know, is that really the most authentic you? So let me move on. Was there ever a time when you had an unshakable understanding of your own self-worth? Unshakable. Stood your ground, accepted a job, rejected a job, maybe quit a job, maybe turned down some engagements, didn't go to some places you had opportunities because you knew that it was going against your most unshakable understanding of who you were. Have you ever in your time felt that you had an unshakable understanding of your own worth? And that means, now listen, we love to answer fast, don't we? So with that said, 15 years ago. Okay, good. We're getting to work on you tonight. I'm glad to see it. So what does that mean? What's the qualifier to an unshakable understanding of your self-worth? It means that you trust yourself, which means you have self-acceptance. So now tell me, do you trust yourself? Which is self-acceptance. Because you're telling me you have an unshakable understanding. When I went to the men's retreat at my church. Okay. All right. Very good. He had an unshakable understanding. Yes, I do trust myself. Wow. That's very good. Not too many people can say yes. Some people say most of the time, 99% of the time, ever since I started. All right. Wow. Very good statements up here. Y'all are answering a lot better than I expected for our preview night tonight. That's good. Ask the folks if they trust themselves. Do they have self-acceptance? And they say yes. Someone said, with Soul Detox, as I stayed with it. Very good. Now, I'm not talking about the careless kind. I want to know, how have you mastered not caring what people say about you? How have you mastered that? Now, let me break it down for you. Not the careless kind where you're selfish, but the careless kind because you're confident. How are you in the midst of people's comments? Yep, not too good. And I bet you, state mother, it's because of some ways we were raised. And I think this younger generation has a better grip on that than our generation. And I'm not talking about the careless kind. You know, I could care less what people say about me. Whatever. You know, all those little statements that people make. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about because of your confidence, you really have a care less about what people say about you. I'm still working on that. I haven't. Work in progress. Yes. Okay, good answers. So the goal, before we end for tonight, the goal is, so how do we reconnect or connect to our authentic self? I'm still reading your comments, so take the time and put them up. I'm reading them still. Good. I'm up and down like a chart. Makes sense. Work in progress and learning not to be a product of people's opinions. Working on it. I have gotten better over the years. Thank you, Davion. We learn, if you don't know me, you can't judge me. Ooh, you better go on. Let's go. Very good, very good. So how? What's our process here? What's our process? How do we get connected in these 30 days or reconnected to our most authentic self? The self that we were proud of, that we made decisions and weren't fearful of making decisions, even if the decisions were wrong, that we knew that, one, we would be able to get ourselves out of them, two, with God's help, we can get ourselves out of them, or three, that we had such a support group of great friends and family that we weren't afraid to take risks in ventures that were going to better our life because we were our authentic self. Very good. Very good. I like the comments. So how do we reconnect or connect to your authentic self? First, we've got to get you to gain control. That's why at the last Soul Detox conference, well, some were calling it a convention now, at the last Soul Detox convention that we had at Goodwin College on December 22nd, I had them play the song I had them play at the prior one, You Got the Power. Because somehow, somewhere, something or someone convinced you that you are powerless, that you have no power over your life, so you don't make decisions. Someone took power from you when they told you you can be in the room, but don't be a part of the room. Stay in a child's place. Your comments are stupid. What you say doesn't matter. You don't speak well as the other people in the room. Something, somewhere, someone convinced you, your perception of what they did or said, convinced you that you are powerless. And you bought that line so much that it is weaved into every part of your life, where if you really are forced to make a decision, you will. But outside of that, you really have stopped making decisions for your life. A lot of ideas, a lot of creativity, a lot of vision, but no casting. So we've got to get you back to understand you have power. And with that, you're going to gain control of your life again. And it's going to be a healthy control. It's not going to be a controlling personality out of fear or a controlling personality out of abuses. No, you're going to have a healthy control of your life because you have power. And they're putting it on the screen and I love it. I have power. I am not powerless over my life. I don't care about the molestation. I don't care how you were molested and they won't let you talk about it. They did not allow you to get counseling. I don't care how You couldn't tell the stories to anyone because what goes on in the house stays in the house. Whatever those stories were, you have power. And one way of getting you to gain your control back, if you want purpose, you've got to have control. One way to get you to have your power back is you've got to put words to the mess that they've convinced you that you are in your life. So gaining control, healthy control, not out of fear, not one that comes but one that comes from confidence, one that's going to come from the inside out, not freaking out on the outside. So you have to control everything. You have to control everybody. You have to have a say-so in everything that goes on around you. You have to have control because nowhere in your life have you had control. So your life is the way it is now. You've convinced yourself that your life is the way it is now because someone took control from you. So now you become a controlling person. You're trying to control all the people, places, and things around you, but you still do not realize that you have control over yourself. And that truly is the only person you really can control. I counsel a lot of manipulators, grand manipulators, and they are convinced from narcissists to victims to codependents. They are convinced that their level of manipulation is going to keep people around them, is going to keep people because they don't have self-love. So they have to believe that if they can keep control of you, then that love that they'll get through you is going to give them a pseudo love that they don't have for themselves. So the narcissist is going to manipulate, the codependent is going to manipulate, and now the victim has to manipulate because the victim now has a victim mentality, self-worth, down the tube. So I'm going to manipulate my way to get everything I want. The narcissist who believes that the world must revolve around him or her could care less how much they manipulate you as long as they win, as long as they get their way. And there's a key to winning. You may win the battles. Let's just say for 20 years you were married and you won every argument in that marriage. Let's say that when you really didn't win, they allowed you to think you won. Or that when you believed that you won every battle in that relationship, you would say, well, you can't do this and you can't have that and you can't have that. Maybe you were the sole breadwinner. You controlled that area. But there's one thing with winning many battles, but there's one thing with winning the war. And those are a big difference. I have a few couples that will fight tooth and nail to win each and every fight. Who left the cabinet open? Who forgot to close the garage? Who didn't pay the bill on time? Who spent money they weren't supposed to spend? And they're fighting to win battles. But the war, they have lost. And they're not getting the setup for that. You can win within a marriage, but lose the entire marriage. So what prospers a man to gain the world, but loses his soul? Don't get caught up on winning little battles. You're going to lose the war. The battles are a distraction. They're an occurrence of things that happen to cause you to lose the entire game. You can't afford to get caught up on the inside of that. So manipulating is such a detriment to your psyche because when you have convinced yourself that if I don't act this way, lie this way, cheat this way, or run game around my loved one this way, I will lose them because I'm not worth having. They're going to leave me because I'm not lovable anyway. Now, where do you get that concept? Every baby believes that they're loved. Where does someone get the concept that they're not loved anyway? Someone said something and their perception, maybe as a child or a divorce hit them so badly or an affair struck them so badly, rocked them to their core. So there's a self-love problem. So automatically, as a defense mechanism, they go into manipulation. They manipulate on their job. They manipulate in their guy-to-guy, girl-to-girl friendships. They manipulate in their romantic relationships. They manipulate, everywhere. They manipulate everywhere because they have bought into the lie that if I don't manipulate, I can't keep you or I can't control you. If I can't keep you, then I won't have life because I've made you an idol. I'm codependent. If I can't manipulate you, then I can't keep you, because you may find out after all these years that I have no self-love for myself. So I don't believe that I can get anyone else. So I have to keep you in my life. May not even love you anymore, but they have to keep you in their life because they don't believe they could get anything any better than that. Man, we do some sick stuff. Some sick stuff. When our soul isn't right, due from the trauma and experience and accidents. And I don't mean accidents like a mistake. I mean an accident like somebody did something to you and we term it an accident. But you were supposed to be loved. You were supposed to be affirmed. You were supposed to be adorned. You were supposed to be matured. You were supposed to be taught healthy conflict with brothers and sisters. You were supposed to be taught how to handle finances. You were supposed to be prepared, ready for the world. And for most of us, that never happened. We just kind of had to find our way, ended up on our own, had to survive. I mean, the stories I hear are heartbreaking, but it is the truth. So we want to get to the root of all of that to bring out the confidence that was once there from the inside out. So that's a part of it as well. So this 30 days, I want you to repeat after me. Come on. So this 30 days is about me and no one else. If you can't put it on your screen, if you're writing in your journals, go ahead and write it on your journals. All of those who listen to replay will go ahead and put it on the screen now. But I want to hear your confession tonight. This 30 days is about me and no one else. I'm going to drink some of my chai tea. Come on, there's only 2 of you up here. Let's go. There we go. This 30 days is about me and no one else. I'm supposed to be loved. You better believe it. This 30 days is about me and no one else. Where y'all at, Facebook? Periscope, y'all is working it tonight. There you go. Thank you, Leah. Come on, Facebook. Where y'all at? Y'all got the most viewers. All right, D. Davis. You better go ahead, Periscope. I need to send y'all all something. All right, CW. All right, Will. This 30 days is about me and no one else. The most you can do from someone else is tell them we're going to have a watch party together. Invite a few people over your house with you and work through this together. Or just send them a link on their post or in their inbox. But that's the most you can do. You're going to have to be selfish, not the careless kind, not the fearful kind, but the confident kind. That I'm devoting 30 days to myself. I don't care who don't like it. I don't care what you got to say about it. I don't care how stupid you think it is. These 30 days are about me. I'm taking the time to invest in me. Cost-wise, it's free, but baby, it's going to cost you everything in you to get through these 30 days. We're going to go down memory lane, and there are going to be some memories you don't like. There's going to be some moments where I bring up things that you don't want to talk about. There's going to be times I say things that are going to be flung like a rock, and they're going to hit you wherever you are, and you may not want to get back on for a couple of days. That's the fix that I'm talking about. That's the fix I have to get to. Coming from the inside out. Yes. Bernard Howard, I see you watching. Can you open up the door and let your little daughter out, please? She's anxious. So this is 30 days is about you, no one else. It's about filling your life with what's important to you, and we've got work to do. That's what we've got. We've got work to do. I'm going to enjoy the journey. It's not a trip. We talked about that a couple years ago. And we're going to deal with our approach. What has been your approach with the things you value in life? All the things that you have invested with. But for some reason, you have not given that same effort as you've given to a driver's license or a driver's test as you have for your life. You've given more to getting your driver's license than you have to your own life. You've given more to get an fishing license than you have for your life. You worked harder in elementary school than you have in your adult life. You did more reading, writing, and arithmetic than you did with personal, successful, purposeful development of yourself. You worked harder in high school than you have the last 4 years of your life at you. You've even went further to get a higher education, to get more education on external things, and have not even invested the time or the money to work on the hiring of yourself, the developing process and stages of yourself. Even in marriage, you work harder at your marriage than you do at yourself. So our approach at self, our authentic self, the inside, the place that really matters, we've got a below grade on that. And the only person that matters to is you. And that's what we're going to develop. Everything God did, he did with purpose, and he stated the purpose in which it was. What is your purpose? Why were you born? Isn't it crazy how adults can even tell you, you were born by accident? Come on. That's me, two people coming together and inseminated a woman with sperm, making a baby is by accident as much as a man and a woman walking into the fertility clinic asking for, what is it? And I don't even know the terminology of it, but for in vitro fertilization happened by mistake as well. It wasn't nobody no mistake. We know it's only one way to make a baby. And now they got two. There's a process for making it. And how can you do those two processes, walking into a fertility clinic or laying down with the opposite sex, and say having a baby was a mistake? It wasn't a mistake. It's just that they're planned. What they wanted to happen didn't happen. That was the mistake. You were not the mistake. Nope. There was a plan and there was a purpose for you, and that's what we're going to get to on these next 30 days. Did anybody ever tell you what your purpose was? Some children are born knowing what their name is going to be before they're born. Their last name carries a legacy and a will and a state. Some people know that this child's going to be the doctor. This child's going to be the lawyer. Some know that our children are all Cornell University students. Was there any purpose ever spoken to you on what was planned for your life? More than likely, you were a mistake. You weren't planned, or, there was some bad times back then. So we wanted children, but we couldn't really provide anything for you. So we need to determine, what is that? Now, even according to the book, I'm almost done for tonight. According to the book, we have to get you to know what is your highest and best use. Your highest and best use. That's what you're going to be happy at. You're going to be happy when you find out what is your highest and best use for your life. That's getting back to your authentic self. If you have no purpose, you have no passion. Please write that down. There's two good ones I'm giving you, and then we're done for tonight. If you have no purpose, you have no passion. And if you're wondering why you have no passion, you have not found your purpose. If you read the beginning of this book, he talks about how his father was a doctor. He sent him to medical school, and he became a medical doctor, and he was making tons of money, and they were having great vacations and very successful, in a nice home and a nice car, but he wasn't happy. He had no passion. He talks about how he literally had to, by brute force, make himself get up every day to live a life that most of us would dream about. But it wasn't his passion. And now look, he's a great physician, but look how many people he's helping in the world now. Look how many family he's helping, married couples that he's helping, how many addicted children, abusive children that he's helping. How much more the purpose that he was his highest and best use. He found that place, and he is prospering. He's healthy. He's purposeful. He's passionful. He's excited than just being rich. You can have both. You absolutely can. If you have no purpose, you have no passion. And if you're wondering why you lack passion, it's because what you're doing is not your purpose. You may be good at it, but it does not mean it is your purpose. You may be great at it, but you know on the inside if it's purpose or if it's money. I had some great jobs, and I admit it every time. I'm here for the paycheck. I'm here for the paycheck. I did not plan on making a life out of it at all. So here we go. Two more and I'm done. Purposeless and passionless becomes superficiality. When you are living a life without purpose, not only do you become purposeless and passionless, you become superficial. We talked about that one last year too, where you major in the minors, where the foolish things become important to you, the material things become important to you. You have to, label drop and name drop, and you can't carry a bag from Target because you don't have the passion or the purpose to carry a Target bag. So you can't carry the bag. The bag has to carry you because you have to have labels because you feel so mislabeled in your own life. You should be able to carry a Target and a Walmart with just as much confidence as you would a Louis or a Gucci or a Prada or anything else. And when you desire labels, there's nothing wrong with being able to afford those things. But when you desire them out of your own lackluster life, out of your own purposeless and passionless life, if that's why you desire them, the bag's carrying you, baby. You ain't carrying the bag. They notice your bag. They're not noticing you. They don't even talk to you. But when you have that bag, they gather around you. That's a nice bag. How long you had that? Is that authentic? Oh, you always dress so nice. Never told you that you give great advice or that you seem very intelligent or they like the knowledge that you drop about what you study. Nope, they don't give you that. Your earrings are nice. Your hair is nice. Your makeup is nice. Your clothing is nice. Your car is nice. Your bag is nice. Your shoes is nice. They don't even notice you. You are invisible. Because the labels that you're labeled with that you can't walk in, you now cover yourself in labels on the outside. I'm just saying. Get a Walmart dress and rock it as if it's a J. Crew or as it's a Nordstrom or whatever other labels we into nowadays. And still be who you are with that. Especially if you can't afford it. If you can't afford that, but the inside you know your worth. Let me move on. I don't want to even go there tonight. So what happens when you're purposeless and passionless? It becomes a substitute for the things that ought to matter. When you have purpose, different things matter. Listen, I am a night hawk. I stay up all night. And sometimes I have to sneak and hide and go to sleep and act like when my family's waking up for the day that I was asleep too, but I was really up all night because I'm reading and I'm researching, I'm making notes and I'm getting plans together, I'm getting a conference together and I'm getting ready for my counseling calls the next day, and purpose is just running through me. I'm helping this person and I feel so good about it, and this person's life is beginning to change and I'm just so excited about it, and this person's not getting it and I'm digging harder, but I'm excited about what I'm able to do and instill in her life, and I'm just so full of purpose and passion that I can't even sleep at night. But when you don't have that, the minor things matter more than the major thing. You have a totally wrong focus. You have a grandiose with money or materialism. You must have approval from others. You must. Let me tell you, when I started my online broadcast, some of the people that I thought would support me, not by watching, but just by phone calls or conversation, people that I paid to mentor me, I thought I would get some kind of feedback from them. I actually got the reverse. Their broadcasts, they would have subliminal attacks, quoting some of the things that I've quoted, trying to tell their viewers how wrong the misquote was. I mean, crazy. If I had not done the work on myself, the fix, if I had not done that, the old me from about 5, definitely 10 years ago, would have got off the Soul Detox. When every day, to God be the glory, I'm compounded with emails, text messages, or people randomly in restaurants and stores telling me how much Soul Detox has changed their life. And not just women. I'm not called to just women. Men, teenagers, that those people that I valued the most, the people that I was majoring in, would have taken me out because their approval, their opinion, their support meant so much to me that for years, if people that I role modeled, that I allowed to be role models in my life, if they didn't speak well of something that I was doing, it was off. You know, I had a teen group before, and a church didn't understand at that time working with ministries outside of church, and they accused me of trying to start my own church, and you know, the whole church was dogging me until I ended up being the center of conversation over the pulpit. I dismantled the group that I have. Now, mind you, the 4 or 5 young women that I had coming were not a part of any church. One was battling homosexuality, and I say battling because she didn't want to walk that way. One had lost all her kids due to drugs. The other two were just kind of dropping out of school, hanging out, doing nothing. So every Tuesday, I'd prepare dinner for them. We'd have dinner together. Then we'd go to the living room, and I just pour in some wisdom, some light, and some, we'd go through some workbooks together and just try to bring some, new thoughts to their minds, something that they maybe was never introduced to in their culture or in their household, or their mother never showed them that there were other ways. It didn't have to be like Hartford. They can learn what it's like to be in Italy or, in France or something, just to give them an alternative to just not being a part of the status quo. And they tore me up over it. And because they mattered so much to me, I lost those 4 girls. And when I see their lives even now, I could condemn myself because I majored in the minors. If you can't celebrate what I'm doing, that's celebrating other people, your issue isn't with me. Your issue is with yourself. And I've taught this about maybe 2 months ago. Jealousy isn't that they're jealous of your glasses or your earrings or your clothing. When someone is jealous of you, what jealousy is a reflection of what they have not accomplished themselves on the inside. So it manifests itself as jealousy towards you. But it's really not your makeup or your shape or your style or your clothes. What you have been successful at, no matter how little it is to you, it is major to someone else because you're doing something they have not been able to do or work around their fear to even start or accomplish. So their jealousy towards you is not really that you're just as bad as you think you are. It's that they are not as bad as they want to be at all. So I had to realize that even people who mentored me strongly in one area of my life may have been more insecure than me in other areas of their life. Watch who mentors you. Jealousy is a matter of the heart, and jealousy is a spirit. Absolutely. So just because someone has accomplished more than you, has a more education than you, has more of a following than you, has been around longer than you, doesn't mean with all of those successes they have made that they've worked on their inside person. Because I don't feel that anyone should be jealous of anyone else. If anything, how did you do it? Help me. I want to be honest with you. I have so many great ideas, but I have fear that just stops me and blocks me. And I'm embarrassed even asking you because I know, I got a PhD and you dropped out of school, but your motivation is greater than mine, whatever the case. So don't major in the minors. Don't get stuck on people who won't celebrate you. Find those that will. And also, from approval from others, the other thing that we would major in is the accumulation of stuff. When you have an issue where you have an accumulation of stuff, that is a pure substitute for the things that ought to matter. It's deep. The psyche is deep. Remember, your psyche is your soul. It is the seat of who you are. It's where your appetite comes from, your choices come from. It's where your decisions come from, or your lack thereof. I work with some people who desired certain things. Let me give you an example of myself. I like to stick with myself. The way I used to decorate my house, and that wasn't too I would get a couple of nice items, but as far as being creative or pulling it together, it wasn't really there. Just kind of like blah, blah. I like that couch. Then if I liked that chair, I'd buy it. Whether the two matched or not, didn't matter. I just liked it. And I'd have a nice couch and a nice chair, but nothing really came together. When I began to do the soul work on myself, I started liking colors. I started liking artwork. I started changing my office around. Then I started changing my home office around. And then I started changing my house around one by one. Your soul is who you are. And your house, the place you spend the most time, your office reflects who you are. And when your soul isn't feeling excited about life, in the book he talks about living in the gray versus living a colorful life. I was living in the gray because my major was in people who I should have minored in them instead of majored in them. So, some people will have an accumulation of stuff. Others will have empty, barren houses. It's a reflection of your soul. And I promise you, before this year is over, we're definitely going to go through that study, how each room of your house reflects a part of your personality. Your living room, your kitchen, your dining room, your bedroom, they all reflect different parts of your personality. And the room that has the most clutter or the least decoration or the room you stay in the most reflects about your personality. Brightened up my whole house just about a past year ago. That's how you know you're being set free. So, in our wrapping up, if you are committed to nothing, if you believe in nothing, including yourself, you can be led into anything. The book actually says you can be suckered into anything. I want to close on that. That's important. If you are committed to nothing, make a list for me. Let me give you your soul work as we end tonight. I want you to make a list to me. What are some of the things in your life that you are committed? That would be some of the things you value. Make a list. What are some of the things you are committed to? Because if you are committed to nothing, and that equals if you are not aware of your commitments, if you are unaware of what you value, this whole thing pertains to the same thing. I'll read it this way for you. If you are committed to nothing, if you value nothing, if you don't know what you're committed to, if you believe in nothing, if you value nothing, if you are committed to nothing, including yourself, if you don't commit to yourself, there's no commitments, if there's no value of yourself, you can be led into anything. And Dr. Phil said it much more bluntly than I have. He said you can be suckered into anything. So that might explain some of your last friendships, your last relationships, the last person you lent money to, the last person you committed something to, the last person you laid down with, the last person you made relationship and covenant with. Because if you are committed to or value nothing or unaware of any commitments, and if you believe in, value in, are committed to nothing, including yourself, if you don't believe in or are committed to yourself, you can be led into anything. Y'all with me? Y'all quiet tonight. Numbers didn't drop anything. So we've got to work on your confidence, self-trust, getting back to your authentic self, and yet at the same time having this calm assurance about you. Thank you, Hope. It takes courage to be who you really are. It takes courage. That's why it's safe to do it from the comfort and the security of your own home or your job, wherever you are. Thank you, Dajane. The same courage that it takes to be who you are is the same courage it takes to get out of that abusive relationship, that false relationship. You need to commit 30 days to being single. And I mean really single. If you're single, you need to be really single. 30 days. You can do without him or her for 30 days. Just, come on. If you're shacking up or if you're married, I would just let them know these 30 days I'm on consecration. I just can't. I know I've been codependent to you, and I know you're used to me being subservient versus a servant, or you're used to me submitting versus mutual submittance. I can't do that right now. And I need you, if you really love me, like you say you love me, I need you to give me these 30 days. Because the same courage that it takes to be who you really are is the same courage it takes a woman or a man to get out of an abusive relationship. The same courage it takes to leave a dead-end job when you have a vision that's so big, but you're just full of fear. Oh, my God. I'm going to end here because this is so good. I don't want to end. Oh, we went over time, I think, didn't we? Good Lord. Let me end here, and then we'll begin at the same very spot. I want to talk to those people for about 3 minutes that live in the past. Dr. Phil did a very good write-up about people who live in the past. He used an example of when he went to, y'all giving me hearts, so I think we're okay, huh? Y'all not mad at me for going over time? He gave a very good example of people who always live in the past. The greatest times of their lives were in their past, not now. He gave an example when he went to a high school reunion, and he ran into the ex-football players and basketball players or whatever they were. And Dr. Phil was very excited about, sharing some things that he had in his life, how he left a very good job and a great paying security position and followed his passion and his purpose. But all they want to talk about was the good old days. There's a problem with people who only can talk about the good old days. And we call them stuck. But there is a psychology to it that we'll open up with on next time. We are reading Self Matters by Dr. Phil McGraw. Sorry, that's not the camera over there. There we go. Self Matters by Dr. Phil McGraw. And it has a companion that you have to work exercises through while you're doing these chapter by chapter. So it will probably take you all year to work the companion. but I'm going to take you through 30 days of this. So it'll be like a book club for y'all who are procrastinators and can't finish a book. You're actually going to be able to finish a book. We finished 3 already in this group. For those of y'all who drop things and just can't get it done, or you buy a book and then you lose the zeal for it, you're going to be able to finish a book with us. That's one of the successes that we do have here. Yep, the companion is online as well. So listen, people call it nostalgic. People who live in the past or cherish the past more than the present are called nostalgic. And it's someone who is highly nostalgic and is stuck in the past of better days. Nostalgic. They live in the nostalgia of the past. When I was a great football player, or my body was so fit, I was a cheerleader, or when I used to lift this much weight, or when I would run these many laps, or my hair was this long, or my skin was glowing like this, or when I didn't have wrinkles, or when I was getting all my degrees, or when all the guys or the girls was chasing after us. They're nostalgic. They live in a nostalgia like a high. They're high on the past, and we call them stuck. And it's someone who is highly nostalgic and is stuck in the past of better days. Listen to this. The only reason you would want to continue focusing on some fantasized past is if the present you have created is not good enough for you. Yes, very good. Isn't that something? The reason why people live in the past. You ever meet some people, they still dress like they in the 80s? And I talk about it in church a lot. I see it more so with men. And, which shows that our boys and our men, they're not being affirmed by other men. They're not being pushed into destiny. They're not being, thank you, T. Daly. They're not being helped with their purpose. I had a talk with a guy today on the phone, and I think we probably talked 45 minutes. And for 40 minutes, he cried like a baby, like literally. All I could do was just minister and pray while he wept. He wept like a baby. He says, I have to get up and fake every day being this macho man. I don't know who I am. I don't even know what it really means to be a man. So in most cases, to me, being a man is providing, being macho, having women. I don't know who I am. And he wept where I literally couldn't even understand a word too much that he was saying out of his mouth. And his whole thing was identity and his manhood. So he lived in the past. When he used to, how he used to. Everybody liked his street name, his nickname, who he used to be. Stuck in a nostalgia. Why are we stuck in a nostalgic time? Because the present that we have created is not good enough. So those days were better than these days. Why is that a problem? Because if that's your best life, something is way out of whack. As we get older, we are supposed to be more competent, not less. Life is supposed to get better because we are supposed to be better. You are on this broadcast tonight because you care about your life. You need to come out of nostalgia. You need to come out of the past, the fears that have bound you there, the lack of luster of your life, how you have decided that staying back in those days. And listen, I love old music. I can put Al Green on and Sam Cooke and a few of those folks. I can put them on and be up in here cooking something good. I love old music, but I'm not stuck in old times. Hello, somebody. I'm not, in with today's type of worldly music, but I still keep up with the theme of what's coming across the airways. I love some of the old clothes. I've got a pair of shoes that are probably 20 years old. They were made very well by a very good company that is no longer in business. However, all my shoes not 20 years old. You've got to come out of nostalgia. Being in conversations with people. Every time you go over their house. I remember when you used to. I remember when I used to have all them guys. I used to have all them girls. Remember the car you used to ride? Some of them got the same car today. There's a problem. And if you're married to them or if it's you, you've got to come out of that fear, come out of that nostalgia, and embrace the best life that you can give yourself now. And guess what? You're not alone. We're going to do it together. We got 100 people on these 2 things. We're going to do this together. So we come to break the ties that have bound us, the ties that have bound us to fear, to pain, to trauma, to incident, and to accident. We come to bind the yokes that have kept us yoked to things that are of death, of stagnancy, that are of memory lane. We come to bind the ties tonight that are going to keep us from being our authentic self. We are coming to bind the tie tonight from the thoughts and the memories and the repeated traumas that has kept us locked into a place where growth hasn't happened in 10, 20, 30 years. We come to break the bonds tonight that have caused us to put stipulations and labels on our children as they have been put on us. We've come to break the bonds tonight, and we sever them in the name, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, in the name that has all power in heaven and in the earth. In the name of Jesus, we come to break the pattern and insert a new direction, purpose, and strategy into where it is we need to go. We come tonight to break the bond, interrupt the pattern, and set a new direction and focus for our life. God bless you. I'm going to leave for tonight. You can go to Amazon, download the book. Next year, we're going to be doing my book. I've started it already. I've got a few pages in, and I'm just ready to go with it. But thank you for being on tonight. I'll see you tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Same time, same stations, for 30 days. We're going to go till January 31st. So here we go. Let's do it together. You all in your house. You know our closing statement. I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in with us. Have a good night. Send in your emails. I'd love to hear from you, what you gained from tonight. Share what you can share. I asked for a page of things that you are committed to, things that you value, including yourself. Email those to me. I'll read them when we start up tomorrow night. I won't read your name unless you give me permission to, but we'll share them with the group to get people's minds thinking and turning and changing the direction of their focus, always being external, so that we can go ahead and start focusing on the internal. So God bless you all very much. Again, I love you. The email is info@SuzanneMHoward.com, and the website is www.SuzanneMHoward.com. God bless you and good night.